Hey everybody, welcome. So, last video, I wanted to show you guys basically how moronic and stupid a lot of review videos basically do their videos of, talking about the item. That's pretty much a summary. They just unbox it, tell you it's this and this, and that's it. I didn't get into the details because, it's just general common sense physical look of what videos do. They don't do any depth. They don't tell you any depth. They don't go into details. They don't do this. They don't do that. And they just make a 3 to 5 minute video basically blabbering about unboxing something and saying it's cool. So I'm going to probably get a lot of rage on that video saying, oh my gosh, that's not a review. Of course it's not. I wanted to show you guys exactly what a video is not a review about. A review is about getting probably about who knows how many minutes or hours it's going to take to get into details, talk about the item, and to get in depth. Because these, you don't just unbox it and you know everything about it. You have to have the item for months, beyond months, before you even talk about the inner details of the product. You can't just get the product and then 5 minutes later start talking about it. That's, it's not how that works. But here's an overview of the new Cygolite Ranger 2000. I'm probably the second video person that actually makes this now. Anyways, so I was right about one thing though. I am a little stranged out by this little bent piece here. This is the same mounting system that you'll find across all Cygolite Metro series lights. The Pro, the Standard, the Ranger, all the same lights will fit on this and the helmet mount system. So this is same. I have my, what did I put? Oh, it's being used my light right now. I have my Standard Pro right here. Not clipping on fully because these are quite tight. But anyways. So put that back there. This will fit on 31.8. I know a lot of people make reviews and little things on Amazon saying that it doesn't fit 31.8. It does. You have to remove the rubber gaskets and put it on with just the plastic. Just the plastic piece. That's it. You don't put with the rubber pieces or anything like that. It will fit standard 31.8 handlebars. People say that it doesn't, but it does. I have 2 of these already, and you have to take off the rubber gaskets and then fit them on plastic to plastic or plastic to your handlebars and tighten it down pretty much until it doesn't move. It's going to be a little tough, but it will stay on there and hold like a tank. It's the same thing as you put your standard brake levers, your throttle for your e-bike. You don't put rubber gaskets whatsoever. If you are using carbon, use some of that carbon flex or grip gel or whatever they use for your seat post to make it so it doesn't fall, the whatever kind of grip thing that has like metal flakes or plastic flakes in it. Then put this on, then it won't work, won't slip around. The only thing I don't like about these that a lot of people can easily fix is this little turning top isn't the best for keeping it from, turning left and right. So unscrew this, put a dab of glue from CA glue or some baloney, hot glue, whatever you want to do, and then re-tighten it down. Boom, fixes your problem 100%. It's going to be permanent in a sense, but these you can get pretty cheap, and it's not that bad, so it doesn't really matter. The only thing I am a little surprised about is that there's this bent on the Cygolite Ranger 2000, because I don't think the standard Ranger 14 and 1200 have this little bent on the mount. Not sure what that's for, but yeah. So it does come with a cable. Sadly, it is micro USB. I know everybody's going, oh my gosh, why aren't they using USB-C? Well, these came out before Knight Rider came out with their Lumina Max series. So I think that's probably the reason that they haven't converted to USB-C yet. So when they come out with maybe another series that's going to be like 3000 or something, baloney be like that, then they'll probably do that. I haven't even turned this on. I was just making that unboxing video, fake review video, just to try and show everybody, but then I jumped into this and I wanted to show everybody that this is more of the details that a lot of people are going, yes, we're looking for this kind of video, not that kind of baloney video. So I haven't even looked through what this button does, haven't even done any background looking, so we're gonna both figure it out. As for the port in the back, same thing as the Ranger. As the Ranger series, it's a lot bigger in the back, and we have a thick port right there. That is thick, but it's recessed in, so it has a pretty decent recess piece in there. You can see my finger literally disappearing right there, right? It's pretty recessed, so it's got a nice, good hidden ability to hide that port from water. Supposedly this is IP67, so pretty water resistant. I wouldn't go, leaving it in a pool or something like that, but you know what I mean. It's pretty water resistance. I know everybody's gonna be like, oh well, it's IP67, that means it's waterproof. No. I know a lot of companies and a lot of things that talk about this bull crap, saying that IP7, 8, and 9 are all waterproof. If it's on the IP scale, it's not waterproof. It's water resistance. It's not waterproof. Waterproof means that basically there will be very, very little ports. And even if there are ports, it would be more of like, an actual like drilled down port that has like a literal hatch that screws down and you can't really, touch anything. And the buttons, these buttons do have a rubber cap, but most buttons on waterproof devices will have a complete seal, like they'll be glued down on the rubber cap, because when you push on rubber in water, it causes pressure. Because the more pressure you go deeper, the more air wants to escape. So when you push that down, air wants to seep out and water wants to seep in. So what they do is they seal by gluing the rubber pieces to the frame. So that means that the rubber can't release air when it's pushed. But these, I don't think they're basically glued down to the machine. Maybe they have a rubber gasket all around, but I wouldn't really trust this to be, being used in water while pushing. Just for FYI, everybody's information. That's what waterproof means. Water resistance is basically, oops, it can be in water for a couple minutes and oh yeah, it's an accidental drop down. Like that. But waterproof, no. I learned that a long time ago, before the IP scale bullcrap talk was even invented. I had to watch that supposedly said it was waterproof, I think, or no, it was water resistant. I was like, okay. I learned the hard way that wasn't really, waterproof. It said it was water resistant to the point of just like the IP rating of IP X8 or X9, but when I started pushing my buttons in the water started leaking into the watch because there was no sealing in it. The buttons were plastic, but they have rubber gaskets on the back, but they weren't sealed. They weren't shut to the unit. So that means when I pushed the buttons, air started releasing from the unit and water started escaping because every push that I made basically was like of the air, and the water was like sucking in. So that's water resistance, not waterproof. So if it's on the IP scale, it's not waterproof. If it's beyond the IP scale, most companies should basically be saying this is beyond IP scale of IP 10 or IP X10 or something like that. This is waterproof. Like submarines, remote submarines, that's waterproof because basically all the ports are very little, and the only port that is exposed is either sealed shut by a screw latch system or no ports at all. And same thing goes for your phone. The phones are not waterproof. They have a mesh technology system that basically works like one of those cup trips where basically I have a jar and I turn the jar upside down, but the jar doesn't release the water until I go like this, and then the water leaks down. The trick is there's a mesh screen on top of the jar, and so when I flip it over, the mesh prevents all water from going at once because the mesh makes all the holes very small, like this. That's the same thing what your phone does. They have those mesh over the speakers, such forth, but it's not waterproof because if you shake the phone like this and you start using it, what happens? The same thing happens with the jar. You shake the jar, all the water starts leaking through. That's the same thing with the phone. And the port, it's got a USB C port, but normally some of those will probably likely fail because USB-C ports, some companies will not have a built-in safe function that basically when exposed ports are in water, the negative and positive terminals of the power port will basically touch because the water is touching both of those ports. It's basically like putting metal contacts to the port from negative and positive when you put it in water. So some of those will basically act as a short circuit system and shut down the port from actually keeping that short circuit system from continuing. So when the port is underwater, it will detect that from short circuiting and say, nope, I'm turning you off for a bit until the short circuit goes away. But normally you really don't want to do that. Again, the accidental ability of the IP rating is there, but you don't want to expose the ports for long like that because it is a digital short circuit disabling system. It is still short circuiting because when it's in water, it's always exposed to those 2 points. Now, water theoretically won't get into the phone by the port, but that doesn't mean that the port is waterproof. So it's gonna short circuit and detect that, oh, need to cut off. But sometimes it cannot sense that And guess what happens when you touch negative positive terminals to a battery together in one point, like this? It destroys the battery and the components. That's why you don't really want to put the ports under the water. It may ability like that. So for this, it's pretty water resistant. I've had my other unit. I actually wash it by hand with a little soap and such. I just did just before these two videos, and still works, as you can see. No problem, because the USB port is closed. I didn't dunk in water, but even if I did, again, I'm not going to leave it there. I'm not going to push the buttons. I'm not going to mess with the port. But it's not waterproof. It's accidental droppability, which is nice, but not something you really want to leave in there for, you know, super long. It's more like, huh, oh, shoot, crap. So, let's get down to the device. They have this new button technology, which is very interesting. So, I'm going to figure this out with you guys, and we'll see what this goes on. So, this is 2,000 lumens. Well, theoretically, it's actually 1,000, 1,000. And it's not actually 2,000 lumens because 2,000 lumens is on boost mode. Normally, you're not going to be using boost mode, so you're basically going to be using maybe 1,600 lumens on high. And I think this has a brightness controller system for each light. I'm not sure. So let's figure this out. So, first activation. It's in lock mode, which is nice. So that little flashing right there, that's not on. That means it's on lock mode. As you can see, I'm just pushing it. So I need to turn off lock mode. So I have to hold this down until it stops flashing. Now it's unlocked. So now I'll turn this off. That's actually pretty fast to turn off. Unlike the Pro, that's kind of does a little dim effect. Okay, this should be low, medium, high, and flash. So that's standard. So it goes back to low. Let's see if it goes to boost. Yeah, that goes to boost. Okay, let's see what this button does. That's actually pretty nice. That's cool. So it has a dim control system, which is actually very nice. So let's go into the secondary mode. So they say you can control the flashing timing, which is nice. So this is zoom. So you can control the timing again for zoom. That's really nice. Turn very slow. And this is walk cycle. So let's see how powerful we can get the walk cycle. Oh, that's pretty bright. Then we can get pretty low, which is nice. Pretty awesome. I like that. And each lens has a enhanced optic glass lens piece. So it's the same thing as the standard Rangers, except that this secondary button controls the brightness ability. So say if you're in low mode and you want a little bit less brightness or a little bit more brightness, that gives you that option. I don't think it gives you the maximum, changing it to, let me see. Let's change it to high. Okay, that does nice. It also saves the performance of the brightness setting too, for each individual lighting mode. So, if you don't want your low to be super bright, you can lower it more. If you want your medium to be more medium or more bright than its original ability, you can do that. Same thing with high. If you want more brightness, you can do that. So, I don't know the actual output from each individual modes, but my best guess is it's probably similar to the Ranger 14,000, but maybe it would be like if you want medium brightness for each mode. Either way, freaking awesome. But like I said, I still don't know what kind of battery system is in this. I'm not going to take it apart. If somebody else wants to do that for $100 light, go ahead. But again, my best guess for the Rangers, to get this kind of performance, it doesn't seem they're using the same thing as the Pro Series does, which is using the same old technology of 18650 cells as they've done for their old Metro series systems. I think they're using the new 2210 cell batteries, which is the larger, beefer battery systems. Because again, yeah. My Pro's dying because I haven't used it for a long time. But the battery pack just doesn't seem like it's a small cell battery. From what I mentioned on my Ranger, is that the casing is a lot more bigger, and it seems like it has a lot more room for a bigger battery. So again, I'm thinking that they went with this 5000 series battery. So instead of having 3500 mAh capacity, now they have a 5000 mAh capacity because they're using the more beefier, bigger cell technology that that previously wasn't around. So that's cool. I did wish though that you would be able to individually, turn on which light with the secondary mode, which would have been cool. Let me see if I can do that. Nope. Holding that button doesn't do anything. Either way, It's pretty freaking awesome. Still the same kind of case design, plastic as the Pro, the Plus, the Ranger series. So a little bit good on durability, not too bad. I wouldn't go throwing this on the floor to test that, but you know, accidental drops, it's a bomb-proof ability. And unlike other companies that use a plastic front case, I think Knight Rider probably uses glass too, but they don't use a frilled glass tubing system. That's why their Aluminum Max series doesn't have a wide burst. It more has a focused spot, is because the glass is what makes the optics spread. That's the unique thing that Cygolite has for all of their flashlights. I think the only ones that they don't from their Metro series, the Ranger series, well, not the Ranger series, from their Metro series is basically the Metro 400, and I think below that, and the Streak 450, and probably the Streak series in general. The other ones like the Dash, the Zot, and I'm not sure about some of the Dashes, I think the higher ones or the Pros, I think they have that. I'm not 100% sure. But the Dash, no, the Zot and the Dice don't have it. So that's what gives it the wider burst throw ability versus more focused spot, is this glass mesh system that they have. And you can see it has a very thick heatsink in the back, as you can tell right there. Sorry, my camera's freaking out. I was like, oh, what the fuck is going on? And they have more RAM airflow. Again, as the standard Ranger does, it has the 2 RAM airflow pieces down here. So that will help wind throw in here and burst out the sides. So there's one here. Yeah. There's one RAM airflow here, one here, and this helps it suck in air and also disperse air here on the sides. And that makes it so when it sucks in air from the bottom, top, it basically will blow that heatsink and then blow it from the sides out. And then they'll sometimes also blow on the sides to help that heat sink help cool down better. Same thing with the Pro series and the Plus. It's basically they have the RAM airflow on the top, not on the bottom, but it still blows into that heatsink area and then out the sides. The old Metro series, I don't think they had that. They had the 3 steps, and that just helped it blow on the corners and cooled the unit down. But they went with a slightly different heatsink plastic outside to help the cooling better. Another big thing about a lot of people that don't understand about bicycle lights is that if you want to get this for, you know, handheld ability, don't be stupid. Don't think that, oh yeah, I'm gonna buy $100 bike light and use it as a handheld ability. I know a lot of people think that they can do that and just like, oh man, 2,000 lumens, I could take this out in the forest and, you know, hunt bears and such worth it. No, because these are built specifically for bicycles. And the reason why is because they're high output lumen and they're small design. If this was used in your hand, Within about 10 minutes, your hand will be being a hot potato. No joke. The reason why is because the reason why that they're built specifically for bikes is this. The wind as you pedal is causing airflow to go around the entire unit and in the unit itself. That helps keep it cool. It's passively cool, but it needs wind to keep it cool. So when you're pedaling, there's a friction of wind going on you. And the faster you go, the faster it gets cooled. So if you're not moving, you're holding it as a hand on 2,000 lumens. This is basically going to be like trying to hold a cook pot. It's going to go poof and burn out. Or just shut down. Or go into a very low state. I don't know how their protection system has it. Or for most companies, it probably just shuts down from overheating. But basically still, they're not designed for handheld mode. In a way. Cygolite and Night Rider do have a walk feature, but unlike standard handheld flashlights that do have a high output lumen for walk mode, and they can have a lumen LED system that has a low heat output for high performance, these aren't that. So you have to use the walk mode system on these to use it pretty much. But you're not going to be blown away by the output of it. It's not going to be like, oh yeah, walk mode, 2,000 lumens, boom! No. It's going to be more like maybe 100 or, less than that, depending on what kind of version of flashlight you get. Like for this may be 200 lumens output, maximum. For my Pro Series, this might actually probably be around 100 to 120. Maybe. It may be a lot less than that. But the good thing is, you really don't need much lumen output for being in walkability. You don't need to have like the most maximum daylight ability of flashlights to be able to, see your path when you're walking. A good, decent 100 lumens or 200 lumens is more than decent enough for, just casually walking in the woods at pitch black nighttime. It's not gonna maybe see 200 miles away or 2,000 feet away, but for at least 10 feet in front of you, that is gonna make it so you're not gonna fall off a freaking cliff. This is more than decent enough. The good thing is that gives it a pretty decent long runtime life, which is also why I went with the Pro Series versus the Ranger, is because the Ranger series had, I think, about 50 hours, or what was it, 30 hours of walk mode, and this had about 80 hours of walk mode performance, because it used a lot less lumen output than the Ranger did. So it still gives me a plenty amount of runtime for less lumens, but it gives me more than twice that much, which is nice. So for the chargeability, a lot of people are going to be disappointed about this, but for having dual lights on a single battery system, up to 2,000 lumens on the newer performance cells, it's pretty decent. Now, I thought, 3 hours was, not too bad. This goes back to the old states of the standard Metro series, or the non-plus versions. Now, it's not charging at a slower state as those. Again, it still uses this 1 amp charging system as the Pro series does, and the new Ranger and the Ranger series does. problem is, this is going to take the same amount of time as the standard Plus and the standard old series Metro systems do, which is 5 hours. So it's a little bit of a con in charging ability, but in a sense of having 2,000 to 18,000 lumen output, or 15,000 with dual LEDs, it's pretty nice. But if you want to charge around 3 hours, the the Ranger 1400 will get you that in 3 hours and 30 minutes. But if you want to charge fast, the Pro, I think the Pro 1200 maybe charges the same speed as the Pro 1100 that I have here. This charges at 2 hours and 30 minutes. So if you want to charge fast, yeah. But a good thing about this compared to the Knight Rider series, I don't know if they do that for the Knight Rider Lumina Max or their new Pro Lumina Pro series, which they converted to USB-C. I know everybody's gonna be like, dang dude, let's go USB-C. Again, I think these were built before that, so obviously they didn't move to, you know, USB-C yet, so still micro, but not too ashamed. The good thing about the micro though is that when it's in the port, it fits. That little groove inside of it actually makes it fit very nicely and doesn't really give you much wiggle room. Although on the standard Pro series, they don't have that groove there. So when you plug in, just make sure you don't just like, you know, like that. So that groove does give you a bit more protection, in a sense, when it's plugged in to charge. But it's still micro. And now I forgot what I was going to say about the charging ability. So it does charge with 1 amp. But if you charge at less than 1 amp, it's probably going to take twice as long. So probably about 10 hours. So yeah, a little bit, but most devices aren't going to charge at 0.5 amps anymore, so that's pretty cool. Oh, that's what I got reminded about. So like I talked about in my other video, talking about this could basically run while it's charging. So if you use low mode, you pretty much have unlimited amount of performance, right? I wasn't 100% sure on the Ranger, but maybe on low, it would, you know, run fine. Now, medium, I don't know about on this system. On low, it probably might give it an extra couple of hours of runtime. I don't think it permanently run off of it compared to the Pro series when it's on low, because, you know, low and performance charging can stick with it. So this might give you extended runtime on low mode than on the Pro series, but on the medium, I don't think you're going to get that much of a runtime advantage, because again, higher lumen output, more power usage. So if you don't want to use, you know, you don't want to get a light that's going to have a lot more power on low mode, just go with the Pro series. Do it like that. Boom. But for low, I think they said about 8 hours to 22 hours. That's actually pretty good. So if they have it that way, I think it could probably run off a low indefinitely if it's charging at the same time. because if you put it on low, then it might run pretty well. And like on medium, it might run for another hour or so if it's on medium low performance. I don't really know. I'll have to test that in the future. But for now, it's just a rough guess. But it's cool that you can charge this and run at the same time, unlike other units. So if you have this on your helmet, it's going to be a little bit twice as heavier than, you know, the Pro Series, because you got pretty much 2 lights on the top of your head in a sense. But unlike the Knight Rider series, this can run while being charged. I don't know about the Max and Max Pro. I mean the Max and the Lumina Pro series. But if somebody has those and want to confirm that those do work while charging, okay. But normally I haven't seen any Knight Rider flashlights able to be active while charging. These, on the other hand, can be active while charging. So that gives you more extended runtime, more performance out in the boonies. So if you're not going full blast for boost mode or high mode and you want that runtime, get yourself a power bank, plug in, put it on medium to low, and basically go out there for hours. Go have yourself a camping trip out in the boonies on your bike and just, you know, go out there for 8 hours or something like that and screw about. Who knows? But night's only 12 hours around, so hey, that's pretty cool that you can basically go all night with this in a sense. Not at high or boost mode, but still extend that runtime ability by quite a lot and not have to worry. That's pretty nice. I know everybody's going to be saying, well, you know, low on its normal high mode for like 8 hours or 6 hours is still going to get you plenty of runtime ability at night. I mean, who's going to stay up 12 hours at night in the forest riding their bike? I mean, it's an exaggeration, but you know, it's still nice to have a pretty decent amount of time to, you know, grasp. Like, not a lot of people want to just like, okay, I'm getting through this forest within an hour. Some people want to actually be able to, you know, oh look, and these trees are nice when it's dark. Such, just like, want to kind of explore the world of the night. I mean, it's a completely different world in the nighttime. A lot of people don't understand that when it's nighttime, it's not the same thing that you see in daytime. It's completely new. It's strange too and creepy, but it's really cool to be out at nighttime. And so, you know, just casually exploring the woods at night, it's hair-raising, creepy, and weird, but it's actually pretty cool and strangely nice and peaceful in a sense. So again, like I said, having that longer runtime ability and the ability to charge while you use it is really, really nice. Unlike the Knight Rider series lights. Now, I'm not saying Knight Rider is bad compared to Cygolite. I mean, man, they have a pretty decent system going. These two guys are competing to each other. These are very nice lights. But again, I like the Cygolite series because of that charging feature system that gives you that extended runtime. So that's really helpful for running these things. As for last mode system, that's unlike the Plus and Standard Metro series, where basically you have the light on right now. As you can see, my Pro series is on low, running out of battery. This is the warning battery, but you can see There's no boop, 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 every 10 seconds. This system uses the same system as the old series, old Metro series and the Plus series, but it takes away one thing that was super agitatingly annoying, and that was the flash, the steady pulse that would happen every 10 seconds when it was in lower battery mode. The cool thing though is it kept that one function that a lot of people loved, was basically these have a optimized voltage regulation system that basically, even though the voltage is gained to that point that the flashlight is going to die and shut down, they actually go a step ahead from what I understand and basically have it run similar kind of to a AA flashlight, where basically the brightness will go and slowly dim as the light progresses to the lower voltage ability. Which means you can still run with this on high, but the brightness will basically dim. So it won't shut down on you like other lights hard. I don't know if this new Pro Series has done that, but I do know that... No, did I just say Pro Series? No, Ranger Series. But I do know that the Pro Series, the 950 and mine, which is the 1100, I don't know if the 1200 does it, but it's the same Pro Series, so it probably does. But those don't have the fast shutdown or the flash system. When I did the overview of the Ranger 1400, this would have about maybe 15 minutes more battery life of when it was on warning mode for low battery before it basically shut down. It's still dim a little bit, but then after a time it would just go and shut down. So it does give you that dimming ability effect still, but then it instantly will go, okay, I'm shutting down. Sorry guys. So I don't know if they still incorporated that into this unit system, but considering the fact that it's the Ranger series, it's probably the same thing. It would have been nice if they would have kept their old school system for the Pro series in these, but who knows. I'll have to test that out again and see if that's actually true or not. But if it is, that'd be awesome. But if it's not, and it's the same thing as the standard Ranger, 14,000 or 12,000 versions, then okay. But at least one of the biggest pluses that I've seen is they wiped their hands away with that blinking feature on the Pro and Ranger series, because man, that I can probably say for a lot of people, wow, that is so annoying. Having that stutter steady blink when it's in low power mode, oof, really annoying, very agitating, because I know a lot of people are very kind of like me, where basically something that kind of moves or makes things like, you know, just be random is really, you know, eye-catching, and it kind of makes your focus go there instead of actually focusing on something else. So when you have your flashlight going, like, you know, beaming in the front of the road, and you're looking at the road and you suddenly see a flash, it's like, your eyes always want to follow that. And even if they don't, it still has the nerves inside your eyelids and your brain wanting to turn that way. And it's just so irritating. Or like if you see movement out on the side of your eyes, or even in your vision, it's like, I mean, call it sketchy or, you know, nervous or some stuff like that, but basically, it's just really freaking annoying. So, I would prefer the Pro or the Ranger series to, you know, do the low and shut off ability than what the old series has done and the Plus series. Because, holy moly, that's irritating. So, that's a very nice thing that these have that's the old series didn't. They were kind of annoying. But they all do one thing besides the Ranger series. Well, sort of the Ranger series. But they do all one thing, which is pretty nice. And I think Cygolite is probably proud of doing, is they have their optimization battery technology built into their flashlights that make it so it can work like a AA flashlight system, even though it is using a lithium ion or lithium cell battery 18650 system, or the 2020 2210 battery that basically will allow it to dim down pretty much until it's non-existent and then shut down, or literally not run out. So that's very neat that they have that technology. But anyways, so that's that. And like I said, talking about information like this is still an overview, but I'm giving you guys more depth. This is not a review, and I still have to get to know the product and see if it actually works. But from what I have of my 2 Pro series and what I've done with my Ranger series that I did return, but I want to give you guys a look at before I returned it, I now have the Super Ranger series. So this is basically, like I said, 2 lights in one. It's not a single light system. So what they do with this is basically, if I had 2 Pro series side by side like this, that's pretty much exactly what this is. So if you wanted to basically conserve space with a single battery of the newer battery technology, probably, then this is it. It's a bit bigger, heavier, but you're gaining 2 lights in one. And if you want to put it on your helmet, it is going to be slightly a bit heavier, because you do have 2 lights on your head instead of 1 system ability. But then again, you only have 1 battery, and it's fully concealed system, so you really don't have to worry about that. But if you want to modify it like my helmet, I haven't really re-glued it back, but I was making a helmet design basically having a battery pack on the top, and so when my light is there, I just undo the little flap on the back for the charger port, plug the power pack into this, and so basically it'd be fully charged when I'm running on nighttime. I just turn it on, and then it starts charging the lights by running off of that and keeping it at peak charge. So it'll pull power from the battery pack, and when that runs out, then it runs onto the internal battery and does like that. So that's my little makeshift for my helmet. I haven't re-glued my battery pack to it, but basically you can do that yourselves or anything like that. Put a small little, 5,000 or something like that on top of your helmet by gluing it or something like that. I know a lot of people put GoPros and stuff on their heads nowadays, so not really that much of an issue. It's gonna make a little bit more weight because of the battery pack extra there, but if you can have less weight in the front ability by counteract with a weight in the back, like I have a AA flashlight actually plugged in back, glued on the back, that's just AA's, and then battery pack, that will counter the weight from being too much forwards and more evening out the weight. So when you're looking around, it's not going to be like, whoop. like that. So if you want to counter the weight for something heavier, put something in the back. It's going to make it more heavy in general to, you know, have and such forth, but at least it'll be a lot bit more balanced out between the front and back side. The same thing as I talked about my Hyper E-Ride. The reason why I put weight in the front compared to just putting everything in the back is because even though I do have well, no, that was counterproductive. When I got my front hub motor, I noticed there was more weight in the front. So to counter the weight in the front and to make the weight even for more better steering control, I put more weight in the back. So I put more tools and such in the backpack to counter the weight in the front. And so even though it's going to cause the bike to be more heavier in general, now instead of having more weight in the front and causing it to be like this, it now is like this. It evens it out. So that gives me much more flexible control again, as if I didn't have a front hub motor system. So that's the same thing right here. If this is too heavy in the front, put something in the back. It's going to cause it to be a bit more heavier in general, but then that makes it more stability because now you have an even amount of weight from the front and the back. I mean, a lot of people probably will say this is stupid, but it works and it does perform well. And that's the thing a lot that I'll probably talk about in another video, is that having the weights balanced out, even though it's going to cause everything to be more heavier, is a lot better than having less weight between the two and having an issue. Just like having a bicycle trailer or a car trailer or such forth, where, you know, you see those people on the roads and their trailers going like this. That's because there's either weight too much forwards or there's weight too much back, and that's causing the trailer to go skipping around because there's so much less weight in one area, and that's causing the wheels to kind of like that. So again, even though it's going to be heavier, having balanced weight between the two makes it a lot more better. So I don't know if I'm going to put this in my head, because my first thing when I was getting these flashlights is I wanted to put basically 10 lights on my front end. I was going to have about maybe 5 of these, 4 on my handlebars, and then 1 on my head. But maybe if I wanted to get 4 of these on my handlebars and 1 on my head of this, or maybe another this on my head, I don't know. This would be about the 5 of these that I was originally was going to go with would be about 5,000 lumens. Okay, just picture that full mode. Now if I had all 5 of these on the other hand, that's 10,000 lumens when they're all on boost mode. That's pretty bright. So I thought my original plan was going to be bright. No, this is going to be super bright. And then you're probably wondering, where the other freaking heck are the other 10 lights going to go? I mean, the other 5 lights. Well, I already have 2 lights that are strapped down on my shock arms near the wheel axle. And those are just like, you know, 250 here, I think, or 300 at max. Nothing too big. I was thinking of probably getting the Lumina series lights and using their flex straps to put them around, but I don't know. I'll just stick with these BV lights. But I was gonna get kind of green, no, not amberant, yellow run lights that like are kind of like the flat backlights, but they're more for the front. I might just go with the Cygolite fronts. I forget what they're freaking called. The front ones like that are just normal, and put those on low. Or probably I can find a cheap knockoff that has the ambient yellow lights, and I'm gonna put that above those two lights on the shock arms, so it basically be like, you know, a car. You know how the cars have ambient turn signal lights always on, but they're not super bright, and then they have the standard headlights above them. Basically, that's what I'm going for the bike. So they'll have the standard BV lights are low powered, pointing down, so they're not, you know, blurring out and crap. And then those two lights, and then a light on the crown of the shocks, the front fork shock, that will basically be strapped on. I don't know if I was originally gonna go for the micro Lumina, but I don't know if I might or not, because I want to keep the distance out from the back from actually going too far, because when the shocks move, the crown goes beyond that shock points of the arm, the shock top arms, where the steer tube is. So I want to prevent that from, you know, going like this all the time. So my original plan was the micro Lumina with the flex mount, but who knows? I'm still deciding what I'm going to do with the lights. But that would be 5 lights down there, and then 5 lights, well, 4 lights on the handlebars, plus light on my head. So yeah, 10 lights. Am I going dramatic? Maybe, but you know, utilizing all the room I can for maximum performance, and you know, the ability to off-road pretty light and have a lot of ability to, you know, hey, I'm right here, okay? If you can't see this, then I don't know what to say, because there's literally no way you can't see this. And I'm not joking either. I've seen people have their lights and all this stuff, and cars still slam into them. It's like, how the frick can you not see that? If a bicycle has lights, especially these kind, how can you not see that? So, like I said, maybe I'm a little dramatic, but if somebody can't see this performance on my Hyper E-Ride, then I will literally be mind-blowingly shocked of how moronic somebody could be if they couldn't see a bicycle with 10 lights on its front end, 9 plus the helmet. I wouldn't be running them at full maximum power, but you know, being able to do this, hey, is actually kind of fun. There's actually a video I saw where this guy has like 100,000 lumens on high beams. He basically has like some kind of like truck Jeep rig LED strip system going on, and people are driving on the road, their high beams are on, and he's like, boop, 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 turn your high beams off, turn your high beams off. Like, he gives them like 3 or 4 times before he goes, okay, boom! And he basically just blinds them with his 100,000 lumen output freaking headlights. And then the people go, ah! Okay. Boop. You can literally see their headlights go from bright to go boop. I'm like, yeah, if somebody saw that on the road from a bicycle land, they would literally be shocked. The output power being beyond their own lights will just be like. But man, that video, I give props to that guy because holy moly, that is freaking awesome. Just basically, oh, you want to blind me? Fine, I'll show you blindness. That's freaking awesome. But being able to have the boost mode ability to know, hey, if you can't see my lights, let me show you. I can show you. You can see my lights now. Bup, 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 bup. Can you see me now? I mean, it'd be cool if all of them were tied to one. I'd just be like, but still, very neat. You never really want to do high output when you're on, city streets because, again, even though these aren't as bright as headlights, they are more generally pointed up. Even though they're pointed down, they have a huge radius of brightness. So they do have a window of above. So a lot of cars can still see that compared to normal headlights for cars that do have more of a direct beam down until, it gets to a fade kind of lighting ability. But most headlights are beamed down so it doesn't basically blind people like that. That's why high beams, when people use high beams, they're actually more focused upwards. So they give a more outcast of forwards. There's only an amount of range that low beams go, and they're mostly just for basically a small range for like 70 feet or something like that. I don't know. Just a mild guess. But basically high beams are supposed to go for like 200 feet plus. So they're more straighter. That's why they blind people a lot. So when you're riding on high mode for these, because these don't have a focus downwards as headlights do, that area effect lighting still casts upwards into people's faces and can blind them. So that's why you don't ever use high mode on streets. If anything, nowadays I would probably say if it has a walk mode, probably use that. Because especially for these things, low mode would probably still be like in the range of 400 lumens. And that's still pretty bright. So walk mode would probably now be the central piece to actually use for riding in a town or something. Maybe having a little bit of a focus spot that's more downwards. But still, you don't want to have very high amount of power going out for city riding. If you're out in desert or forest or dark, something like that, when nobody's literally coming at you, man, go all out. Go freaking insane. But city riding, no. Never do high output. I would never go past 500 lumens on a standard city building because, again, a lot of cars can be blinded because these don't work like cars do, where they have a very direct and faint lighting ability. These basically have more focused, still focus lighting ability. So they kind of fade, but there's still a large gap that still beams very high power ability. Unless they work similar to the Phoenix lights that basically have a mirror cast on the lens, where basically it will have like a little top that will make it cut out, and there'll be a box shape on the top. That's where you basically will put your lens down towards the road, and then above that the cars will not see the light, period. So there will be a distance before the cars will start seeing you as they get close, and they'll go, oh, there's somebody. But these, on the other hand, have a circle system. They don't cut off like that. So cars, even from a mile away, will still see you. Well, actually, quarter to half a mile, I believe, depending on how straight the road is. But as they get closer, same thing with high beams. As you get closer to somebody, you're not going to go, oh, hey, yeah, hey. And then, this is what high beams look like. Let me see if I can lock my aperture here for a second. So this is what high beams look like when somebody is driving at you. So yeah, it's very blinding, and it's not funny. So even though, again, even though this is not on boost and it's still on just low, you can still see that it's pretty blinding. Because it's not as focused as hot headlights, and I'm probably jabbering so much on that, but point is, yeah. But still, it's nice to have bicycle lights now that are performing almost as great as standard headlights for cars in these kind of small packages. I mean, literally, this is freaking amazing. Back in the old 1990s, if you showed somebody one of these, they'll probably just literally be like, did you get a headlight off of that? Because compared to standard incandescent lights, this is like turning the world into daytime. And that's no joke. I've ran a few incandescent bulbs at nighttime, and wow. I still remember the first LED light that I had that was that wasn't even that powerful. It was one of those battery saving LED ones that were like, you know, crappy compared to a incandescent flashlight. And I was like, this is LED technology? I can get like 100 hours of battery life on this? Well, yeah, no wonder, because I can barely see crap. But now, even LEDs that are like this, built into little tiny crap things, are probably way better than a standard old incandescent light nowadays. It's like, but yeah, my first flashlight was incredibly bullcrap. I was like, I literally, one night I had like 2 nights or so I had this light. I was on vacation with my family or something at another friend's house, and it was nighttime. I was like, oh man, I get to finally see how good this so-called 55-hour battery life-saving LED baloney crap lights, whatever this is. I still had a mag light. Those are good. And I was like, boop. Huh? What the heck? And I compared it to my mag light, and it was like, it was night and day. This was like, what the? What? Trusty mag light. And that was compared to a AA mag light versus, you know, a new LED battery saving technology LED that had one of those, you know, reflector lens things, and the new LED that they were just coming out with. I was like, it was like 3 times dimmer than a mag light. So I was just like, they plan to make this new technology This is crap. These are still gonna rock. And they did for a while until, you know, now that we have high-powered LEDs like this compared to using the stupid 8mm or 10mm little bulb LEDs, it's freaking amazing. But incandescents were nice. They weren't the greatest for bikes, but you know, they were fine. If you had 2 of those, they were okay. But you know, compared to having like 50 lumens, like, no, even having 2 incandescents to comparison to a LED, I would say probably about 30 to 60 lumens output would blow those 2 incandescents by far. So incandescents were great until we started getting to the flathead LEDs. But when first brown LEDs, the 8mm or 5mm, 8mm LED bulbs were coming out, they weren't that fantastic in comparison. But once they started getting past the, you know, 50 lumens, okay, that's pretty freaking cool. They had quite a bit of life than incandescents. Again, a lot of batteries for most AA and incandescent AA flashlights use basically about 1 to 2 hours of runtime. For LEDs, it can get a bit more, but the problem is that you would drop about 60% of brightness after about 2 hours. So it wasn't a dramatic shutdown like incandescents, but LEDs would still go like that. But they're pretty cool. And I had a Bell iFlex, and 2 of those were way better than my incandescent lights. And those were 30 lumens each, and they ran for about, I think, 8 hours or 10 hours before they started showing a dimmer performance. So that was a lot better than 2 hours on the incandescents, and a lot more brighter. But now, instead of worrying about, you know, having to double stack a 30 or 50 lumen output light to get more visibility, showing one of these to one of your friends with that, they would literally be having their jaw hit the floor within less than a second once this is on. It's like, because once this is on, it's like, ah! And not even on boost, it's just like normal. It's like, wow. Anyways, long video, lots of details, cool ability, and a lot of talk about. But I'll be doing some tests on this Ranger 2000, seeing if it does have the same Ranger shut-off ability, and seeing if there's any other hidden features, and how long the recharge time takes, and if it can actually run on low or medium, as similar to my Pro Series. But having the ability to have the same mounting functions as all the Metro series is very nice. And again, it does fit 31 0.8 diameter handlebars. You just need to take off the rubber gaskets and hit it with plastic ability. I know a lot of people are going to hate that, but it does work. And if you don't, I don't mean crank it, but if you lock it tight, it works the same thing as your standard handlebar brake lever or shifter pieces. You don't need any kind of rubber to basically have it from going like this. And for the fix of the side-to-side motion, a little bit of CA glue or some hot glue, and that will fix it. Just take this off, unscrew the screw here, lift it, dab a little glue on the sides of the screw hole or in the front and back. Well, not the back, because you might actually glue this, the dropper point, but side to side, front, and then re-screw it down, clean the glue off. There you go, you fix your issue. Now it won't fiddle around side to side, but from what I'm feeling, it's pretty okay in the tightness. I haven't need to screw with my 2 new ones from my Pro Series, but yeah. And Cygolite does make a headset, helmet piece, which also, for everybody that doesn't understand, is the head mount has the same kind of mounting ability as you would mount for your GoPro little thing ability. You would just take off the little top head and use those little ridges to put your GoPro mount thing or whatnot, or whatever kind of other threaded piece, or I don't know, something that uses those 2 sides, and then just tighten that down and use that. But if you have any kind of other things, then you could just basically use that on that. You just unscrew the standard mount, put the headpiece on top of that, and just screw that back on. But then if you're already going to buy that, yeah. But if you don't have those already built onto your helmet or so forth, then just buy the entire thing and go with that and use the strap already. But if you do, just get the strap, take off the strap bottom piece and use the top piece, and then whoosh. Hey people. So I'll see you guys later. Peace out and stay bright.